Think the T60 is just a T45 with extra metal? Let's see why it ruled the Fallout front lines. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a deep dive into one of Fallout's most underrated power armors, the T60. It doesn't get as much fanfare as the iconic T51B, but it's no slouch. Built in the desperate months before the bombs fell, the T60 was America's last stand in powered armor design before everything went to hell. We'll break down its history, what made it different, why it was so widely used, and how you can get your own in Fallout 76. Okay, here we go. Number 1, the context after Anchorage. First, let's set the stage. It's January 2077. General Constantine Chase and his troops have just reclaimed Anchorage from the Chinese in a dramatic, freezing assault. They did it with winterized T51B power armor leading the charge, a game changer that minimized casualties and broke the back of the enemy lines. But that victory also highlighted something important. Power armor wasn't optional anymore. It was essential. The US military realized they couldn't keep relying on the aging T45 for everything. They needed something newer, tougher, and cheaper to produce than the T51B. That's where the T60 comes in. Number 2, from upgrade to independent model. Originally, the T60 wasn't meant to be a whole new line. It actually started as an upgrade package for the T45, which was the first power armor to see combat back in 2067. Think of it like taking an old tank and slapping new armor on it. The goal was to get more protection without retooling factories or starting from scratch. But as West Tech worked on it under a long-standing government contract, the T60 quickly outgrew that simple upgrade plan. They added so many new design features and refinements that it spun off into its own series. In the end, the T60 was more than just a T45 with new paint. It was its own beast, engineered to keep US soldiers alive in a world that was falling apart. Number 3, armor evolution. Heavier, tougher, meaner. Let's talk about the armor itself. The T60's biggest selling point? More thickness. Seriously, it sounds basic, but that was the whole philosophy. More metal equals better protection. Compared to the T45, the T60 had upgraded plating that could take a lot more punishment. It didn't have the fancy composite shell of the T51B, but it made up for it with sheer bulk. It wasn't the pinnacle of mobility or elegance, but for frontline troops facing plasma fire, mines, and Chinese pulse weapons, thicker armor was a good thing. You could think of it as the M4 Sherman to the T51B's Panther tank. It wasn't necessarily the most advanced, but it was rugged, reliable, and you could make a lot of them. And now, going to number 4. The T51B comparison, not the pinnacle. It's important to note that T51B remained the pinnacle of pre-war power armor design. The T51B had better balance, lighter weight, superior materials, advanced coatings for radiation and lasers. It was the gold standard, but it was expensive. The T60 was designed to be the practical alternative. Easier to produce, simpler to upgrade older T45 units. More protection than the T45 thanks to all that extra metal. For the US military trying to gear up for World War III, that trade-off made sense. Number 5, the final power armor before the bombs fell. One of the most interesting things about the T60 is its timing. It officially entered service after the Battle of Anchorage, which was in January 2077. That gave it a lifespan of just a few months before the Great War turned everything to glass. But in those few months, it saw extensive use. The US Army deployed it in all theaters, from Alaska to China. Domestically, it was used to enforce order, meaning it was the armor you saw on the streets when the government cracked down on civil unrest. Imagine the last days before the bombs fell. Food riots, quarantines, protests, and these big armored soldiers patrolling cities in T60s to keep order. It's not just a battlefield tool, it's part of Fallout's dystopian vibe. Number 6, Fallout's aesthetic workhorse. Even though it wasn't the best in raw stats, the T60 has become one of Fallout's most recognizable power armors. Heavier and more angular than the T51B, bulkier, with a more militaristic silhouette. Aggressive looking, like it was designed to intimidate as much as protect. If you've played Fallout 4, you know the Brotherhood of Steel loves these things. They roll into the Commonwealth in squads of T60-clad soldiers, looking like modern knights in steel. It's not the cutting edge, it's the workhorse. Going to number 7, how it stacks up in Fallout 76. In Fallout 76, the T60 is a solid, mid to late game power armor choice. It's tougher than the T45 by a good margin. Not as fancy as the T51B or Ultrasight, but way easier to maintain. It offers respectable resistances that make it great for general use. It's perfect for players who want a Brotherhood of Steel look without hunting for the rarest gear. And honestly, it's one of the best-looking suits in the game. There's something satisfying about that solid armored look that screams, "Don't even try it." Number 8. Where to get it in Fallout 76. Okay, let's talk practical. How do you get T60 power armor in Fallout 76? Vendor bot Phoenix at Watoga Shopping Plaza sells plans for crafting most mods. Armor parts themselves spawn in Type 2 power armor locations across the map. It's classified as an uncommon T-Series spawn, easier to find than the T51B, but you'll still have to do some exploring. It's not locked behind any insane questline, so with enough scavenging, anyone can build a full set. And lastly, for number 9, why bother with T60? You might be thinking, why choose T60 over other options? Lore. It's the last pre-war US power armor to see extensive service. It's the real deal for Brotherhood cosplayers and military role players. Aesthetic. It's got that Fallout 4 Brotherhood look, big and imposing. Practicality. Easier to get and maintain than top-tier suits like T65 or Stranglerheart. Stats. Great for most fights, enough protection for daily ops, events, and even endgame content with mods. It's the armor for people who want to look like a real Wasteland soldier without min-maxing every stat. So that's the T60 power armor explained. From its rushed development after Anchorage to its role as America's last military workhorse before the bombs fell. What do you think? Is it your go-to suit in Fallout 76? Drop your stories in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more Fallout lore and gear breakdowns. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you out there in the Wasteland.